Hi, I'm Michelle Sterling for Friends of Science Society. Well, the budget is out. What can I say? Winter is coming. I don't just mean the season of winter. I mean the economic winter for Canada. You know, even though Premier Smith has put forward the notion that maybe there could be a pipeline out to the coast, just as the budget was coming out, what happened? Premier David Eby and a number of coastal First Nations said, no, they're going to impose and maintain the tanker ban. And the coastal nations said, you know what, we don't want any oil on our coast. Which is pretty ironic because, to get to one of their sites, which they have tourism as one of their economic drivers, you got to take a ferry. In fact, if you look at BC, what does BC run on? Runs on oil and gas. We've got a huge cruise industry, big container port, Port of Vancouver, one of the largest capacity deep water ports on the west coast. It feeds materials all across North America, actually. They've got a huge airport, YVR, uses lots of jet fuel, which is a derivative of oil. They've got one of the largest ferry services in the world, BC Ferries. And it runs on marine diesel. It's a oil derivative. So, they're a bunch of hypocrites. And this whole idea of binding Canada together as a nation, as Team Canada, kind of goes out the window when you have a provincial premier and a bunch of First Nations who financially benefit from the tax-paying Canadians saying that they don't want a pipeline. Well, it's actually a federal responsibility to designate this kind of important infrastructure. It's federal. It's not provincial, not First Nations. But you can see that we don't really have a Team Canada, if we ever did. So now I presume that within the budget, a number of the elbows up crowd plans and projects will be put into play. For instance, the mayor of Jasper was very keen and signed a petition to have an east-west power grid. I hope he doesn't think that that's going to stop wildfires. But if you're really concerned about climate change and emissions, think of the embodied emissions in these projects. And where's the money going to come from? I've seen estimates for an east-west power grid at something like $60 to $100 billion. A lot of money. And you know what? They want to load it up with a lot of renewables. And actually, ironically, the Science Society in France today just issued a report about how renewables drive up power prices, and they also make the grid very unstable, and that having anything close to 50% on the grid is impossible, and anything less than that, the lower you go, the better it is for grid stability. And remember that Premier Tim Houston is very keen to build an offshore wind farm of 66 gigawatts. And just to put that in perspective, the UK, which has been building offshore wind farms for quite some time, has only 14 gigawatts. So these are mad ideas. Incredibly expensive. And they're not the kind of thing that earns us money, because you can export electricity a little bit, like over the border, but it's not like oil, where you can put it in a pipeline, send it to the coast, put it in a tanker, and send it around the world. Any country in the world that wants to buy it, you can send it to. And then that brings money into the country. And that's new money. That ups our revenues. We're deeply in debt in Canada. Our next generation has been failed. And if we don't get some kind of pipeline access offshore, then probably our best bet will be to try and restart Keystone XL. And you know what's going to happen? The tar sands campaign. Yep, they're probably going to jump up and down again and block it. So what are we going to do, Canada? Or what are we going to do, Alberta, Saskatchewan, whoever wants to, be a real country or province and actually make money and sell things on the world stage? What are we going to do when we don't have Confederation partners working with us, and we do have a totally climate-obsessed administration? What are we going to do? Winter is coming, and if we don't solve these problems very soon, it's going to get really, really cold for all of us. For Friends of Science Society, I'm Michelle Sterling.